Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Time for your wake-up call. So I pulled over here. There's a scenic site pull-off here on my way to work. So I thought I'd pull in from the highway and just have a little chat. This seems to be like the wake-up calls that I do in the morning on my way to work, or that I sometimes do on my way to work. They're gonna get I don't know, decreasing in numbers, I guess, because pretty soon it's going to be all dark and we won't have any sunlight at all. So I may have to record my wake-up calls from the house now before I go to work instead of going to work. But anyways, I wanted to talk about what, I don't want to say scare, or what kind of event worries you the most in an SHTF situation. I know I have one that worries me the most. And when I say worries you the most, I mean something that you still have some control over what you can and can't do. So for example, let's say that an extinction level event, okay? Extinction level event, like a big meteor that hits the earth and everything on the earth dies, or everyone in the earth dies. That's not something that ought to worry anyone, because there's nothing you can do about it. So let's talk about another extinction level event. Let's say there's a thermonuclear war. That's a worldwide war, and all of the thousands of nukes that are active right now in the world are deployed and pretty much destroy humanity. That's not really something that we can do anything about. You know, if it happens, and they say that there's enough nuclear warheads on the planet to destroy the planet many times over. Or not necessarily to destroy the planet, but to destroy life on the planet many times over. So that's not something really that, you know, you should worry about, because it's not something that you can really do anything about. If tomorrow, you know, every nuke on the world was in the air and deployed to hit something, we're all done. Okay, or if, for example, Yellowstone. People talk about Yellowstone erupting, how that would be a life-ending event for the world. However, that would probably take a little longer to eradicate life on Earth than the other two that I covered. I'm talking about things that can happen, that can either be localized or that can happen throughout the world, that won't kill everyone off right away. And the one that worries me the most, I was thinking about this yesterday. And, you know, and the funny thing is, the reason I was thinking about it is because I'm waiting for the fuel delivery guys to come over and fill my tanks, all right? And like I told you guys in a previous video, my fuel capacity at the house will provide me with fuel for a couple of years. So I'm like, man, what if something happens between now and the time that they come to deliver it, and I can't get my fuel? What am I going to do for heating, you know? And I'm starting to think, man, I really need to go and buy a wood stove, because I don't have a wood stove. So I'm like, I really need to go and buy a wood stove and just have it on standby, you know, in case something like that does happen, where the availability of fuel is not existent, or not available because of logistical issues, right? I really need to have a backup like that. I have a backup for fuel as far as propane stove. I have a backup propane stove that I still have in the box, actually, that would heat my entire house. And I have enough propane stored away to get me through the winter. However, and the stove that I have is not run by electricity. But the one that really hangs out in the back of my head the most is a total grid failure. So it's been said by government officials as well. I forgot the name of the lady that said it a few years ago, I think in front of Congress. She said that a coronal mass ejection, or an EMP. So an EMP is a man-made electromagnetic pulse. A coronal mass ejection is stronger than an EMP depending on how strong it is. If it's a huge coronal mass ejection, like the one that happened in the 1800s, the Carrington effect, if it's one of that size that engulfs the whole planet, we're done. I mean, it's not going to kill anyone. I mean, maybe there'll be a few 100,000 or maybe million deaths initially. I'm not sure how hardened airplanes are, you know, to CMEs or EMPs. And I'm not sure even how the electronics works on things like pacemakers. Did you ever think of that? If we had an EMP or a CME and all of these people that have pacemakers, you know, would that affect the pacemaker that they have that's keeping them alive or helping to keep them alive? But if something like that happens worldwide and the grid is down as far as we know indefinitely, okay, because if it happens worldwide, it's going to take a generation before we can be up and running, I think, all right, because the first year we're going to lose a lot of people if something like that happened. That's the one that lingers in the back of my head the most, because I think to myself, how much do we depend on electricity? I mean, electricity is everything. Energy is everything. Without electricity, think of all the things that you could not do or that we could not do. I mean, if we don't have electricity, there's no internet. You know, if we don't have electricity, obviously there's no lights. There's no electricity to run your appliances. There's no electricity to run my stove that heats my house now, because I have an oil stove that runs on electricity. You know, all those things. And then I think of these things. If something like that happened up here, how would we get by? And I'm thinking that one of my very most needed preps that I don't have right now is a wood stove. I think that where I live here in Alaska, it is pertinent that if you don't already heat your home with a wood stove, that you at least have a wood stove that is ready to install. Because to install a wood stove, if you want to do a rush job and you have all the parts that you need, you can install one, you know, in a half of a day, you know, with the help of, you know, your family. Like my son would obviously help me and my wife would help me. It would be an all hands thing. You know, it wouldn't be something that, oh, we'll get to when we get to. No, it'll be an all hands thing if something like that happened, especially if it happened during the winter. Okay. So that's the one thing that lingers in the back of my mind more than anything else, more than any other SHTF. That's the one thing that lingers in the back of my mind is the grid going down and us not having access to electricity. And of course, we can prep solar panels, but depending where you are in the world, depends on how much energy you'll be able to recoup with those solar panels. For example, up here in the wintertime, solar panels don't recoup that much energy from the sun because the sun is not up as many hours as it normally is during the, you know, during the daylight months of the year, where there's daylight most of the month, most of the day. So, you know, even having a good set of solar panels up here is not really going to help you that much, in my opinion, or at least where I live, okay? Because where I live is kind of like down in a valley of a hill. So I live up in the hills, but it's kind of like in a valley. So there's a dip. So yeah, that's the thing that concerns me the most, is having some kind of a grid down situation where the grid goes down and you're not able to get gasoline to power a generator so that you can provide electricity for your home, or you don't have the availability of the usage of your solar panels if you have some. And if you don't have a wood stove, then that's it, man. You're done. There's nothing you can do. If it's a total grid down situation up here, and it's like a worldwide grid down situation, and you don't have a wood stove up here to heat your home, then that's it. You don't have a chance, in my opinion. So, I mean, there's other things like economic collapse we can get through. We can get through an economic collapse. A lot of people will die because what a lot of people don't understand is that when there's an economic collapse, it has very little to do with the money. It has everything to do with the resources and with credit. You know, when there's a collapse in the economic system and credit freezes up, then you're not able to procure the resources that you need in order to survive. So if there's a full-blown economic collapse that goes worldwide, let's say a worldwide depression, yes, a lot of people will die, but not as many as would die if we had a grid down situation that was worldwide. So what's the likelihood of that happening? Man, I really don't know. I mean, it depends who you listen to, and it depends what kind of research you do. I mean, it's said that the sun shoots out a massive CME like every 150 to 200 years towards the earth. So, and right now, people are saying that we're overdue for a CME coming from the sun. And I guess a few years back, we just missed getting hit by a massive CME from the sun by, I think it was by 2 or 3 weeks, which really is not a lot of time when you think about it. People may say, oh, we missed it by 3 weeks. That's not even close. That's really not a lot of time for a massive CME to have missed us by 2 or 3 weeks. So, you know, the law of averages would say that if massive CMEs still exist, that eventually one will be coming and hurling towards the earth. And what are we going to do if that actually happens? What will become of us? So let me know what you guys think. What is your biggest fear as far as an SHTF? What do you all think would be the worst thing that can happen that is not an extinction level event? Okay, because like I said, an extinction level event, there's nothing we can do about it. If a meteor the size of the moon is coming towards the earth and it's going to hit us and there's nothing we can do to get it out of the way, if it's going to hit us, we're done. All right. But what kind of SHTF do you fear the most? Which one do you think would be the most catastrophic to life on Earth? Like I said, mine, the one that I fear the most is a grid down situation, be it by EMP or be it by a coronal mass ejection, which in my opinion, a coronal mass ejection that engulfs the Earth would be a lot worse than an EMP, because an EMP can be localized, being that it's man-made. A coronal mass ejection, there's nothing we can do anything about. It's going to hit us, it's going to hit us. What do you guys think is the one that you fear the most? And also, what kind of preparations do you think we should have in place for whatever situation you fear the most? So I just told you what I thought I should have in place, and something that I really need to prep in a hurry is a wood stove to make sure that we have heat. And if you guys want to jot down your most feared SHTF scenario and what kind of preparations you think should be made for that scenario, I think it'd be really great for the community. We can all share that information and come up with new ideas that maybe we didn't have in the past. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm on my way to work. I have to pull off here now and hit the highway, so I will talk to you guys later. I hope you guys are having a good day. It looks like that hurricane on the East Coast is starting to wind down, so I'm glad that our subscribers that live in that area did okay and that they're all right. So good for you all. I'm very happy that we didn't have any subscribers that were hit really hard, you know, and we don't have to hear anything bad about happening to anyone in our community. However, having said that, let's go ahead and, you know, think about those that did lose their lives. I think the count of lives lost is in the 30s. I believe I heard last night when I was looking at a few news clips. So it's a heck of a shame that these things happen. Some of these people did not evacuate when they were told to evacuate, and that's a heck of a shame. But with the severity of what that storm brought with it, we lost 30 lives. It could have probably been worse than that. So having said that, ladies and gentlemen, remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. Have a great day. This is Alaska Prepper, and I'm out.